So I just finished my workshops in Laredo, Texas, and I'm hanging out with my friend Alejandra, who owns the studio, and she's super inspired by the workshops, and they were really well received, which feels great. So a lot of what we worked on today was using hip positioning techniques and to decompress the low back, and then we translated that into how to float and press to handstand. So we're not going to get into all that in an IGTV video, but I am going to share with you a short sequence that I taught using the wall to position your hips to decompress your back, to hopefully help you integrate those neurological references into postures that you do in a normal yoga practice. So here we go. So you need a wall. I have a wall. Feet against the wall, heels on the wall, toes on the floor, and then from there, come into plank pose. And use the wall as a measure. So balls of the feet on the floor, shoulders under wrists, all that business. And then see how now in this position I'm like really nicely tucked in my hips. From here, we're gonna do a bent leg down dog. So bend your knees and lift your butt. And as you do this, with the lift of your heels against the wall, feel for how you can push down with the balls of your feet to lift your butt up and then close your front ribs so that the dog really becomes a nice decompressive movement for your low back. The key also is to push through your knuckles quite hard so that you can broaden your back and find length in your back in your dog. Okay, so now we're gonna work on a half moon variation. So look forward so you don't step too short, and step your right foot forward so that your toes go to your opposite wrist. It's a little bit of a shorter stance than like if you were doing a normal measure and stepping your foot inside your hand. Keep your knee bent, armpit on your knee, fingers out to the side at a 45-degree angle, and then come up and put your foot on the wall with your foot in line with your hip. So now you have a reference point. And one of the things that's really crucial about yoga practice is that when you have contact, it's information. So use the contact as information to orient yourself. So I push into the floor with this foot, I pull on the floor with this foot, and then I push into the floor with my back foot so that I can bring my hips forward. And by forward, I mean that way. It's like a little bit of a posterior tilt movement. And then I can turn my chest. But the reason that I can turn my chest into this twist is because I've got my hips moving forward. And I'm really using my back foot, so I feel like this leg is being nicely decompressed out of my hip, and that translates into my low back. And then I can turn my chest and bring my arm up. When I bring my arm up, I don't flail it backwards because that's not really a twist. Instead, I externally rotate my shoulder, grab the floor with the toes on the floor, grab the floor with the toes that are on the floor, and then I can turn. And now if I don't lose the twist, I can take it around the clock and really get around it. So even though I'm still on a longitudinal axis from my heel through the crown of my head, I'm rotating on that axis, and then the last piece, I can lengthen, push the wall, and then back bend it a little bit in my upper back, and I feel a really nice sensation of length and space in my kidney. And then from here, hands come down. Place your hands, again, formulaically, so that you know you'll end up in the right spot. And then just take your other foot and step it forward, measure with your two fists between your arches so that you're formulaic about it, so that it's not personal, so that you have a measure that allows you to gain insight. And then from there, you can start by taking your fingers out to the left at a 45-degree angle with your knee and your armpit. Take your other foot, put it on the wall. You're your own measure. As long as you keep your body sealed to your leg, you can put your foot in line with your thigh. And then, now you can see the back view, right? So what I don't want to do is let my hips go over here because that puts it in my back. Instead, I push on the wall, I grab on the floor, and I pull with those fingers so that I can bring my hips forward and turn my chest. This knee has an imaginary boundary on the outside, and I'm imagining that I throw it across the room. So my knee moves forward. I'm not trying to straighten my leg. My knee moves forward, and my foot moves back, and that pulls me apart on the same longitudinal axis. Then I can reach up and again get around it. And you can see, because I've externally rotated my top arm, I really fit myself. This shoulder also externally rotates, the bottom one, and then I can back bend it and reach it. Hand down. Again, step your right foot to your left foot. You can measure again. And then we'll do a hips forward or warrior one variation of twisting half moon. So keep your foot where it is. Take your left foot, put it up on the wall. Now keep your body sealed to your leg. Straighten your back leg. Get up on the ball of your foot, because the ball of your foot is the piece that helps you operate the sitting bone of the same leg. So if I can press through the ball of the foot, I translate that into my sitting bone moving back. And if my hips go up, my lungs can come forward. From there, I step into the basket of my hands, and notice how the contact of my body to my leg has forced me to keep my arms straight, so that by finding my hips underneath me, I can take my heart forward. So it really becomes a back bend in the forward bend. And then from there, once I've lengthened out my back, my left fingers go right to the measure in front, so right in front of my pubis. And then by pressing into the ball of my foot, I can turn it. So I'm really trying to go out, back, up, and then I can turn. And this is how you really give yourself a chiropractic adjustment. Pose feels amazing. Both hands down, keep the measure, just step your left foot to your right foot. Check that you have your hips width distance. So all of this is archetypal. We're just using personal, universal measures and applying them to a personal form. Step your right foot back onto the wall. Get up on the ball of your foot. Again, the ball of your foot is like the rudder that steers your hips. Take your hands, interlace them, step into the basket of your hands. And if you press back with the ball and the heel of your right foot, the foot that's on the wall, you can get a nice internal rotation, a little inward turn of your back hip while pressing back through the wall. So even though I'm making a back bend here in my upper back, you can see that my lower back muscles are not grabbing or doing the work because I'm really getting it from the fold in my hip. So my left knee, I want it to move forward. My left hip, I want it to move back. And then my heart can come forward. So you move in all directions at once when you really do a posture well. And then you take your fingers, put them in front of you, right in line with your pubis. This hand is a pulling hand, not a leaning hand. Ball of foot pushes so that I can turn my chest. Notice when I turn my chest, I don't lose my hips. So it's a turn. And then I can take my left arm and bring it up. And then it's ball of foot to push me forward along my longitudinal axis so that I can really turn my chest. The great thing about this sequence is you don't need a tremendous warm-up because it's not about a bunch of stretching. Bring your hands down to get deep. It's simply about finding a clean set of origami folds in your body so that you can expand along your own frame. A nice thing to do at the end of all that is take your hands down, walk your feet back until your hips touch the wall. Keep your knees bent so that your body fits your legs. And then you can hang, take your fingers and crawl them forward, and pull your heart forward while your butt goes up. Think that your heels go out and the balls of your feet go down, and then use the balls of your feet to press your hips up, slide your front body down your legs. It's a really nice way to lengthen out your back. And then you can come down to your knees. I like to close everything with just a little bit of stillness. Bring your hands to your knees. Close your eyes. Let your belly go. It's a hard one for me sometimes. Move the back of your head a little back so that you can find your own plumb line. Relax your jaw. Let your tongue come off the roof of your palate. Relax your eyes in the wells of their sockets. Experience the next breath from the very beginning of the inhalation all the way through to the end of the exhalation. And then watch the next breath come in. And then go out. Feel the way your body feels. Right now for me there's a really beautiful South Texas breeze on my body that feels pretty amazing, but you don't have to feel some incredibly perfect thing in your meditation. You can just feel whatever you feel and allow all of those different feelings to be part of the constellations of sensation that are in your awareness. So you don't have to change anything. Just let yourself be in a moment of total feeling, which is different than following a thought down its trajectory. So if you notice yourself thinking, watch the thought and see how it just becomes another thing in your consciousness, just like the way your knee feels. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed that mini practice. Of course, before you do the plank pose at the beginning, if you have sensitive wrists, please make sure to do some wrist prep before that. But I think that the postures in this sequence don't require any sort of extreme flexibility or warm-up. I think you could jump right in.